going to tour again?
When there is something new to say to an audience, then we'll tour again. Besides new songs, when the only way to say that thing is to a live performance making. That's what we'll be doing. Then it's what we have to do is to be touring. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
So, picture this. The year is 1984, and Talking Heads has been touring to promote their latest album, Speaking in Tongues, for 6 months already. You may also remember this tour because it was documented for the concert film Stop Making Sense, directed by Jonathan Demme, and was released also in 1984. Now, this documentary was filmed in the last 3 days of the North American leg of the Speaking in Tongues tour, after which the band took a break for the most part of December to resume touring on January 1984 to play 2 more shows on that same month. And on early February, the band went on to New Zealand to play for the Sweetwaters Music Festival on the now destroyed Queen Elizabeth II Park. Now, let's hold on for a few moments. A lot of you may be asking yourselves, what is, or well, what was the Sweetwaters Music Festival? Well, I'm glad you asked. As I stated before, the Sweetwaters Music Festival was an almost yearly event that was first held on January 1980 and had its last installment also in January 1999. All of these were hosted in different locations in New Zealand. The 1984 installment was held from February 3rd to February 6th. And also, don't quote me on this, but I think that the 1984 installment was the only festival that was not held in January, which it's kinda weird if you ask me. Anyways, the band would show up for 2 out of the 3 days the festival was held, aka February 4th and February 6th. The February 4th show went without any kind of issue. I mean, hell, most of the show is available on YouTube if you want to give it a listen. Now, going off from this recording, the setlist was significantly shorter than the previous legs of the show. For example, this one was no longer set up in 2 parts. Now, just for good measure, here's a setlist from the September 2nd, 1983 show. Despite all of this, from the February 5th show and a testimony on that upload, it is stated that the band had kept a lot of stuff from the previous leg of the tour. I'm talking about stuff like the big sit on Girlfriend is Better and David dancing around with a lamp and naive melody, but I still doubt that they actually had the screens on the background on that song. I mean, judging from this footage of a band playing on February 6th, yeah, there's no way in hell they could have gotten that screen on stage. And also, I'm going to assume that the setlist didn't go through any more changes on the February 6th show, which is actually what we're here for. Now, the February 6th show was a disaster before the concert even began. According to a testimony by bassist Tina Waymart and drummer Chris France, David decided to bring a couple of girls on stage to talk about a movement for the people of Maori. Now, this was a novel idea, sure, in paper, because according to Tina and Chris, first of all, David didn't tell anyone in the band about this, so it pretty much came out as a complete surprise. And if that wasn't enough, the audience began booing the girls on stage and started throwing stuff at them, which, to be fair, was also kind of a awful move. Once this whole ordeal was over, the show finally began with a probably really pissed off David. Once the entire band was on stage, possibly around cities, David just stormed off the stage, making Chris go up to him and just try to convince him to keep playing with them. But David was reluctant, as he didn't want to keep playing for, quote, people who had their feet in the mud. And also, Chris has gone on record to say that that day was not even particularly muddy, so there's that. And as a complete miracle, Chris managed to get David back on stage, and the band kept playing normally until Naive Melody, where the lamp started having technical issues which made David leave the stage, and this time for good. After this, the rest of the band decided to improvise an encore with Genius of Love, and then left the stage once the song was over. And also, according to Tina and Chris, there was supposed to be this quote great party after the show, which turned out to be neither great nor big. To begin with, to nobody's surprise, David didn't show up to the party, which spoiled the mood. Besides, you know, everything that went down on the show beforehand. Once again, according to Tina and Chris, it was a very sad moment and ended up with everyone getting quote quietly drunk on a corner. And sure, this last show was a disaster in every single possible way, but despite all of this, the band went on to make 3 more studio albums, but none of them had any tour to promote them. And 3 years after the release of Naked in 1988, which I also might say that it has one of the ugliest covers I've seen in my entire goddamn life, David announced that the band was pretty much done. And also, I might add that, after this, the whole narrative becomes kind of more complicated as it turns more into a he said, she said kind of situation between Tina and David. So I'm just gonna leave it that the band just separated in 1991 and not take any stances. Now, this whole story is really fascinating, but here's the part that really makes this whole ordeal way more interesting, or, well, at least to me. Besides the February 4th recording and an interview with a kinda pissed off David, with some clips of the band entering the stage on February 4th, there's absolutely no footage of their last show. Not a photograph, no bootleg audio, no video recording, nothing. I mean, hell, the festival itself is not even well documented. Besides a picture of people queuing up for tickets on February 6th and a few posters, most of the festival went undocumented, and unfortunately, the same can be applied for most of the previous and future installments. Thankfully, some parts of the 1984 installment were documented by the band Hara Krishna. Please excuse my pronunciation if I butchered their name. And I'm afraid that this documentary is the only good footage that we have from that installment, or even from the entire history of the Sweetwaters Music Festival itself. And I know that a lot of you might be wondering why am I so keen on this festival and concert not being well documented. And to be honest, the reason is kinda boring. I just find it weird that a band as influential as Talking Heads didn't have their last concert documented. Just think of any band that you like that isn't around anymore and you'll be able to find at the very least a photo and audio of their last show, or even if you're very lucky, a video, or if the band itself was really popular. Now, before I finish that video off, I would like to clarify that I am in no way, shape or form trying to paint David as the villain of the story, and I'm just trying to recount the events without taking any sides and all points of view. And if I accidentally showed anything that goes against David, that's just part of the interview shown and not my personal opinion. As I stated before, the Talking Heads story after 1984 becomes a whole he said she said ordeal. And also, I'm not including the whole drama behind the scenes as it is a lot, and to be real, it's not really relevant to this specific topic. Maybe I'll do a video behind their later years on a future date, but for now, this is all from me.
I'll tell you later.
And also, no, I am not counting the 2002 reunion because, well, that's a reunion and not part of a specific tour, so sorry if I offended any of you 2002 reunion enthusiasts out there. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I cannot promise that I'll do more Talking Head stuff even though I actually did a few minutes ago, but that's not the point. The point is that I am going to make a whole lot of content besides Talking Heads, and while yes, I'm starting to highly consider doing the Larry Jesus video, I cannot promise that it will come soon, as this video took a lot of time to make in general. I mean, I'm just starting on this whole serious YouTuber thing, so please have mercy on me. But in the meantime, if you find anything from dumb memes to video games, music that isn't Talking Heads, or even some obscure and weird stuff interesting, you might consider subscribing because there's a whole lot of that on the way. And hey, if you liked the video, you might as well give it a like and all that good stuff. And also, I might add that if I had any kind of information wrong, feel totally free to put it in the comment section and correct me. And also, if you have any kind of positive and constructive feedback, you are more than welcome to put it in the comments. But anyways, all of that stuff aside, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you all later.
Thank you. Does anybody have